The radio signals came from a small yellow star at the edge of known space. For 3 months, the Zephyrian listening posts had been picking up strange transmissions. Music, voices, and electronic noise mixed together in patterns that suggested intelligence. Young intelligence. Ambassador Veltar stood before the great crystal screen in the collective's main ship. The screen showed a blue and green planet, the third rock from its star. Water covered most of its surface. Clouds swirled in white spirals. It looked peaceful and beautiful. "Show me the analysis again," Veltar said to the ship's mind. Data flowed across the screen in soft blue light. The creatures on this world called themselves humans. They had only recently learned to split atoms and had just begun to explore their own star system. Their technology was primitive, but growing fast. Very fast. "How fast?" Veltar asked. "In just 100 of their years, they went from simple flight to landing on their moon." The ship's mind replied in its gentle voice. "This is unusual speed for most species." Veltar's 4 eyes blinked slowly. Most species took thousands of years to make such progress. These humans were either very smart or very lucky. Maybe both. Behind Veltar, 12 other beings stood around the circular bridge. Each one looked different. The Zephyrians were tall and thin, with blue skin. The Cathani had crystal bodies that rang like bells when they moved. The Morvac looked like walking trees with silver bark. All of them had come together long ago to form the collective. "Should we make contact?" asked Commander Zethrin, a Zephyrian with silver markings on his arms. "They seem ready for first contact protocols." Veltar looked at the planet again. The humans were broadcasting into space without knowing if anyone was listening. They sent pictures, music, and mathematical formulas. It was like a child calling out in the dark, hoping someone would answer. "Yes," Veltar decided. "But we must be careful. They are still very young. We don't want to frighten them." The collective had done this many times before. When a new species reached the right level of development, they would make contact. They would share technology and knowledge. They would invite the new species to join their peaceful community among the stars. It was always the same. The young species would be amazed by the collective's ships and technology. They would be grateful for guidance and help. After some time, they would learn to put aside their primitive ways and join the greater galactic community. "Prepare the first contact fleet," Veltar ordered. 12 ships. Make them beautiful. We want to impress them but not scare them." The collective ships were works of art. They grew rather than being built. Organic materials mixed with crystal and metal in flowing shapes that looked alive. The ships could bend space around them and travel faster than light. Their weapons could move stars if needed. But they were designed to look peaceful and elegant. 3 days later, the first contact fleet entered the human star system. They moved slowly, broadcasting friendship signals on all frequencies. They sent mathematical formulas and pictures to show they came in peace. The response came faster than expected. "Unknown vessels, this is Admiral Chen Rodriguez of the Terran Defense Force. Welcome to our system. Please maintain your current trajectory and prepare for escort to the designated meeting coordinates." Veltar blinked all 4 eyes. The voice was calm and professional. There was no fear or wonder in it. Just business. "Terran Defense Force?" Zethrin asked. "They have a military organization for space?" "Many young species do," Veltar said, though he felt a small worry in his chest. "They will learn that such things are not needed once they join the collective." More human ships appeared on the screens. They were crude metal boxes with fire shooting out the back. Primitive chemical rockets. But there were many of them, and they moved in organized patterns around the alien fleet. "Escort ships?" the ship's mind asked. "Let them escort us," Veltar said. "It will make them feel important." The human ships led the collective fleet toward their blue world. As they traveled, more human voices filled the communication channels. They spoke in short, clipped sentences. Numbers and codes mixed with human words. Vector 7 to 7 Mark 4. Pattern Delta. All stations report ready. Defensive grid online. Weapons systems standing by. Roger that. Control. We have visual confirmation on 12 alien contacts. Veltar listened to the chatter with growing confusion. The humans spoke like soldiers preparing for battle. But this was a peaceful first contact. Why did they sound so ready to fight? Perhaps this is just their way, Zethrin suggested. Young species often don't know how to act when meeting their elders. When they reached the meeting coordinates, a space station waited for them. It was a massive structure of metal and glass, clearly built for both research and defense. Weapon platforms dotted its surface like thorns on a flower. This is Admiral Rodriguez again. Please dock at Bay 7. A diplomatic team will meet you there. Veltar's ship extended a docking tube to connect with the human station. As the connection sealed, he felt excited. This was always the best part. The moment when a young species first saw what the galaxy had to offer. The airlock opened, and humans floated through in mechanical suits. They moved with purpose and skill. Their leader, Admiral Rodriguez, was a middle-aged woman with dark skin and calculating eyes. She studied the aliens with the same attention they studied her. "Welcome to Earth space," she said. "We're honored by your visit. I hope we can learn much from each other." 7. Her words were polite, but her eyes never stopped moving. She looked at everything. The ship's walls, the crystal displays, the organic curves of Zephyrian technology. She was memorizing details. "The honor is ours," Veltar replied, through the translation device. "We come to offer friendship and knowledge to your people." "We appreciate that," Admiral Rodriguez said. "We have much to discuss." As they talked, Veltar felt something he had never felt during first contact before. The humans were not awed by alien technology. They were studying it, learning from it, planning something. But that was impossible. Humans were a young species. They should be overwhelmed by meeting beings from the stars. Instead, Admiral Rodriguez acted like she had been expecting them. The meeting went well. The humans were polite and interested. They asked good questions about the collective and its member species. They shared information about their own world and culture. But something felt wrong to Veltar. These humans were not reacting like other young species. They were too calm, too prepared. As the diplomatic team prepared to return to their ships, Admiral Rodriguez shook Veltar's hand. Her grip was firm and strong. "We look forward to learning more about your collective," she said. The way she said it made Veltar's skin crawl. Like she knew something he didn't. Like she was looking forward to a surprise that only she knew was coming. The great meeting hall grew around them as they watched. The walls stretched and curved, forming new spaces as needed. Chairs sprouted from the floor like flowers. Tables flowed into existence with surfaces smooth as glass. The human diplomats tried not to stare, but Veltar could see their amazement. Finally, a normal reaction from a young species. The organic technology of the collective always impressed newcomers. "Your ships are alive?" asked Dr. Sarah Chen, the lead human scientist. She touched a wall that pulsed gently under her fingers. "Not alive as you would understand it," explained Commander Zethrin. "But not dead either. We grow our technology rather than build it. It responds to our needs and thoughts." Dr. Chen nodded and made notes on her primitive electronic device. She was a small woman with quick eyes and careful hands. She reminded Veltar of the scientists from other young species. Always curious. Always asking questions. Admiral Rodriguez sat nearby, listening but saying little. She studied everything with those sharp eyes. Sometimes, she would whisper to her aide, a young man who also took notes on human devices. "Tell us about your history," Veltar said. "How did humanity come to explore space?" Dr. Chen smiled. We've always been explorers. Even when we lived in caves, humans wanted to know what was beyond the next hill. When we learned to sail, we crossed oceans. When we learned to fly, we reached for the stars. And your wars? Asked Kesani, one of the crystal beings. Her voice rang like wind chimes. We detected many conflicts in your broadcasts. The humans looked at each other. Admiral Rodriguez spoke for the first time in an hour. Humans have fought many wars. We've learned hard lessons about conflict and peace. How sad, Veltar said gently. But that is normal for young species. You will grow past such things. Will we? Admiral Rodriguez asked. Her voice was calm, but there was something sharp underneath it. Of course, Veltar said. All species do. Let us show you how. The next 3 days were filled with demonstrations. The collective showed the humans their greatest achievements. Cities that floated in space, powered by the controlled fusion of stars. Planets where every being lived in perfect harmony. Ships that could travel between galaxies in the blink of an eye. The humans watched everything with polite interest. They asked technical questions that surprised the aliens with their depth. Dr. Chen seemed especially interested in weapon systems. Your disintegration beams, she said to Zethrin. How do they work? They break down matter at the molecular level, he explained. Very useful for mining asteroids or clearing space debris. We can slice a moon in half if needed. How fast do they charge? About 30 seconds for a full power shot. Why do you ask? Dr. Chen shrugged. Scientific curiosity. Admiral Rodriguez asked different questions. She wanted to know about fleet formations, communication systems, and response times. The aliens answered happily. These humans were very interested in learning. On the 3rd day, Veltar decided to share the collective's greatest achievement. He led the humans to a viewing chamber that showed space around them. 800 years ago, he began, the Zephyrian people were much like yours. We fought wars. We competed for resources. We killed each other over land and ideas. The humans listened carefully. Then we met the Kethani, Veltar continued. They showed us a better way. Through genetic modification, we removed the aggressive genes from our DNA. Through neural linking, we learned to share thoughts and feelings. War became impossible when you could feel your enemy's pain as your own. You changed yourselves? Dr. Chen asked. We evolved ourselves, Veltar corrected. We became better than what nature made us. No more greed. No more anger. No more fear. Perfect peace, through perfect understanding. That sounds wonderful, Admiral Rodriguez said, but her voice was flat. It is wonderful, Kesani rang. We can show you the process. In a few generations, humanity could join us in true peace. The humans were quiet for a long moment. Then Dr. Chen spoke carefully. What about choice? What if some humans don't want to be changed? Why would anyone choose anger over peace? Veltar asked, confused. Because anger can be useful, Admiral Rodriguez said quietly. Fear keeps you alive. Aggression helps you fight for what matters. But fighting is inefficient, Zethrin said. With neural linking, you can simply discuss any problem until you reach the correct solution. And if discussion doesn't work, it always works. When all beings share the same goal of peace and harmony, there can be no real disagreement. Admiral Rodriguez and Dr. Chen looked at each other. Something passed between them that the aliens couldn't understand. That night, Veltar found the humans in the observation deck, looking at the stars. They were talking quietly together. Admiral, Veltar said as he approached. I hope our demonstrations have been helpful. Very helpful, Rodriguez replied. You've shown us amazing things. Do you think humanity would be interested in joining the collective? The process is gentle. We would start with volunteers and expand slowly, over generations. Admiral Rodriguez looked out at the stars for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was sad. Ambassador Veltar, can I ask you something? In all your centuries of peace, have you ever encountered a species that refused to change? That chose to stay aggressive and violent? No, Veltar said. Why would anyone make such a choice? Because maybe they learned that the universe isn't always peaceful. Maybe they discovered that some things can't be reasoned with. Maybe they found that sometimes the only way to protect what you love is to be willing to destroy what threatens it. Veltar felt a chill run through his body. What are you saying? Dr. Chen spoke up. Ambassador, we're grateful for everything you've shown us. Your technology is amazing. Your society is beautiful. But we need to show you something too. What could you show us that we haven't seen before? Admiral Rodriguez smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. Tomorrow, our fleet arrives for the cultural exchange. You'll see what humanity has become, and maybe you'll understand why we made different choices. She turned back to the stars. In our part of space, Ambassador, peace isn't something you achieve by changing yourself. It's something you fight for. Every single day. Veltar left them there, looking out at the darkness. For the first time since making first contact, he felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries. He felt afraid, and he didn't know why. That night, he sent a message to the collective council. These humans are different from other young species. I recommend caution in our future dealings with them. But by then, it was already too late to stop what was coming. The star was dying. Veltar watched from the bridge of the collective flagship as the massive red giant pulsed in the distance. Soon it would explode, destroying everything in 3 star systems. But the collective would not let that happen. This is our greatest achievement, Veltar told the human guests. We will move 17 planets and their populations to safety before the supernova occurs. Dr. Chen pressed her face to the viewing window. You can move entire worlds? Watch and see, Commander Zethrin said with pride. Around the dying star, hundreds of collective ships took positions. They were beautiful vessels, each one different. Some looked like giant flowers with petals made of crystal. Others resembled sea creatures with flowing tentacles of metal and light. The largest ships were living asteroids, hollowed out and shaped by centuries of careful growth. The Star Movers are our most advanced vessels, Veltar explained. They can manipulate gravity itself. Watch. The giant ships began to glow. Streams of energy flowed between them like golden threads. Space around the dying star started to bend and twist. Slowly, impossibly, the star began to move. The humans watched in silence. Even Admiral Rodriguez seemed impressed. How long does this take? Dr. Chen asked. Several months for a full relocation, Zethrin answered. We must be very careful not to disturb the planet's orbits too quickly. And your military escorts? Admiral Rodriguez asked, pointing to the smaller ships around the Star Movers. Veltar blinked in confusion. Military escorts? Those smaller ships. They're protecting the operation, right? Those are rescue ships and supply vessels, Zethrin explained. Why would we need military protection? Admiral Rodriguez looked at him carefully. What if someone wanted to stop you? What if hostile forces attacked while you were moving the star? Hostile forces? Veltar repeated the strange words. I don't understand. Why would anyone want to stop us from saving lives? Maybe they want the planets for themselves. Maybe they don't want you to have this technology. Maybe they just like destroying things. The aliens looked at each other with confusion. Kessini rang softly. Such beings do not exist. All intelligent life seeks harmony and growth. All intelligent life you've met, Admiral Rodriguez corrected. But what about the species you haven't met yet? Dr. Chen was studying the collective ships through a small device. Commander Zethrin, Those rescue ships don't seem to have any weapons at all. Why would a rescue ship need weapons? Zethrin asked. For protection. In case someone attacks them while they're saving people. But who would attack a rescue ship? That makes no sense. Dr. Chen and Admiral Rodriguez exchanged another one of their meaningful looks. The humans had been doing that a lot during their visit. Like they were having a conversation the aliens couldn't hear. Commander, Dr. Chen said carefully, could you show us the defensive systems on your Star Mover ships? Defensive systems? Shields, armor, point defense weapons. Things to protect the ship if it's attacked. Zethrin looked genuinely puzzled. The ships have radiation shielding and particle deflectors for flying through space. But I don't understand what you mean by armor or weapons. What if an enemy ship started shooting at one of your Star Movers? Why would anyone do that? Admiral Rodriguez spoke slowly, like she was talking to a child. Pretend someone wanted to capture your star-moving technology. They might attack your ships to steal them or study them. But we would share the technology freely, Veltar said. We share all our knowledge with anyone who asks for it. What if they didn't ask? What if they just took it? Took it? How could they take knowledge? Dr. Chen rubbed her temples like her head hurt. By force, Commander. By threatening to hurt you, unless you give them what they want. The bridge fell silent. The aliens stared at the humans, like they had suggested something obscene. You're talking about violence? I'm talking about the universe as it really exists, Admiral Rodriguez said firmly. Not everyone is peaceful like you. Some species take what they want by hurting others. Such species could not develop space travel, Zethrin insisted. Aggression leads to self-destruction. It's impossible to build advanced technology while fighting wars. Admiral Rodriguez laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Commander, we've been fighting wars for our entire history. And look what we built. She pulled out her communication device. Admiral Rodriguez to Captain Park. Are you receiving our signal? A human voice crackled through the device. Loud and clear, Admiral. Third Fleet is holding position at the jump point. Ready for your signal. Signal? Veltar asked. Admiral Rodriguez looked at him with something like pity. Ambassador, you asked us to bring some of our ships to show you human technology. They'll be arriving shortly. How many ships? Dr. Chen asked. Her voice was strangely tight. About 200, Admiral Rodriguez said casually. The aliens stared at her. 200 ships? Veltar gasped. Why would you need so many vessels for cultural exchange? Because humans don't go anywhere without backup, Admiral Rodriguez replied. In our part of space, you never know what you might meet. 1. She spoke into her device again. Captain Park, you are cleared to begin the demonstration. Try not to scare our hosts too badly. Roger that, Admiral. Beginning jump sequence now. Space rippled. Reality bent and twisted like water. And then, the human fleet arrived. They came out of hyperspace in perfect formation. Ship after ship materialized from nothing, each one bigger and uglier than anything the aliens had ever seen. Where the collective vessels were elegant and beautiful, the human ships were brutal and efficient. They looked like they had been designed by beings who expected violence at any moment. The lead ship was massive, larger than the biggest collective star mover. Its hull was dark metal, covered in weapon ports and sensor arrays. Smaller ships swarmed around it like angry insects, their hulls bristling with missiles and gun turrets. Dear creators, Zethrin whispered, what are those things? Warships, Admiral Rodriguez said simply, built for fighting and winning. Dr. Chen was watching the alien reactions with scientific interest. Commander, what do you think of our fleet design? Zethrin couldn't speak. His mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. The human ships moved through space like predators. Their formations were tight and aggressive. Every vessel tracked the collective ships with weapons that could clearly destroy anything they targeted. Why? Veltar finally managed to ask. Why do you build such terrible things? Admiral Rodriguez turned away from the window to face him directly. Because we have to, Ambassador. Because in our part of the galaxy, these terrible things are the only reason humanity still exists. What do you mean? Dr. Chen spoke quietly. We've met 17 hostile species in the last 2 centuries. 3 of them tried to wipe us out completely. We learned that in a dangerous universe, you need to be more dangerous than anything that wants to hurt you. The collective ships suddenly seemed fragile and defenseless compared to the human war fleet. Beautiful flowers, surrounded by hungry wolves. And for the first time in 800 years of peace, the aliens understood what fear really meant. The human warship filled the viewing screen like a metal mountain. Its name was painted in white letters across the dark hull. TCSS. Retribution. Every surface was covered with weapon emplacements, sensor arrays, and armor plating scarred from countless battles. Veltar had seen thousands of ships in his lifetime. He had witnessed the elegant vessels of a dozen species, but nothing had prepared him for this brutal efficiency of human engineering. By all the stars, whispered Kesani, her crystal form flickering with nervous energy. It's enormous. Admiral Rodriguez spoke into her communication device. Retribution. This is Admiral Rodriguez. Thank you for the escort. Please maintain standard defensive formation. Understood, Admiral, came the reply. All weapon systems standing by. Perimeter is secure. Weapon systems? Veltar asked weakly. Standard procedure. Rodriguez explained. When humans travel through unknown space, we stay ready for trouble. Commander Zethrin was staring at his scanner displays. Admiral, our sensors are detecting massive energy signatures from your ships. Some of those weapons could destroy a moon. Some could destroy a planet, Rodriguez said matter-of-factly. The bigger guns can crack a small star if you hit it right. The aliens looked at her in horror. Dr. Chen continued taking notes, her face calm and scientific. Why? Zethrin asked. Why would anyone build such destructive power? Because sometimes you need to destroy something completely, Rodriguez answered. When a hostile species is trying to eliminate your entire race, half measures don't work. Loaders. More human ships appeared on the sensors. Each one was different, but shared the same aggressive design philosophy. Thick armor, redundant systems, and enough firepower to level continents. How many ships do you have? Veltar asked. In this fleet? 237. Rodriguez replied. Back home, we have about 50,000 active warships, and twice that many in reserve. 50,000? Kesani's voice cracked like breaking glass. Peace through superior firepower, Dr. Chen said quietly. It's an old human saying. A new ship appeared on the screen, smaller than the Retribution but moving with frightening speed. It darted between the larger vessels like a hunting bird, its hull covered in missile pods and energy weapons. That's a destroyer, Rodriguez explained, noticing their stares. Fast attack vessel. It can launch 300 missiles in 30 seconds and accelerate at forces that would turn most beings into paste. Your crews survive such acceleration? Zethrin asked. Humans are tougher than we look, Rodriguez said with a grim smile. We've had to be. The destroyer demonstrated its capabilities by performing a high-speed run past the collective flagship. It accelerated from 0 to a significant fraction of light speed in seconds, then stopped, just as quickly. The maneuver would have been impossible for any collective ship. Show-offs, Dr. Chen muttered, but she was smiling. Your ships are so violent, Veltar said. He was struggling to understand what he was seeing. Everything about them is designed for destruction. Everything about them is designed for survival, Rodriguez corrected. In a universe full of things that want to kill you, your ship better be meaner than theirs. A communication signal came through from the human fleet. Admiral, this is Captain Sarah Park, aboard the Retribution. We're ready to demonstrate fleet combat maneuvers, if our guests would like to see them. Rodriguez looked at the pale aliens. Would you like to see how human ships fight? Fight? Veltar repeated. War games. Practice combat. We'll use simulated targets. Nothing real. The aliens looked at each other nervously. Finally, Veltar nodded. Show us. Admiral Rodriguez spoke into her device. Captain Park, you are authorized to begin the demonstration. Full tactical display for our guests. Roger that. Beginning combat simulation now. Space erupted into controlled chaos. The human ships moved like they were dancing, but it was a deadly dance. They split into attack formations, covered each other's flanks, and concentrated firepower on imaginary targets. Simulated energy beams lanced between the ships. Missile trails drew bright lines across space. The humans coordinated their attack with precision that amazed the aliens. How do they move so quickly together? Zethrin asked. Practice, Rodriguez said. Human military doctrine requires constant training. We drill these maneuvers until crews can perform them in their sleep. But why so much coordination for violence? Dr. Chen looked up from her notes. Commander, what happens when one of your ships breaks down during a rescue operation? We discuss the problem and find a solution together. How long does that take? Several hours, usually. Sometimes a day or two if it's complicated. Doctor. Chen pointed at the human fleet. In combat, you have seconds to make decisions. If you stop to discuss things, you die. So we train until every person knows exactly what to do, without being told. The demonstration continued for an hour. The aliens watched human ships perform, attack runs, defensive patterns, and complex battle formations. Every movement was sharp and efficient. No wasted motion. No hesitation. Your weapons, Veltar observed. They charge very quickly. Most can fire continuously, Rodriguez confirmed. No 30-second delays like your mining beams. But how do you prevent overheating? We build better cooling systems. When you're fighting for your life, you can't afford to wait for your weapons to cool down. The human ships began forming up in a new pattern. They moved into a perfect sphere with the largest vessels on the outside, and smaller, faster ships darting through the formation. Defensive shell formation, Rodriguez explained. If something attacks the fleet, every ship can bring its weapons to bear, while protecting the others. You've thought of everything, Kesani said softly. We've had to, Dr. Chen replied. Every formation, every weapon, every system on these ships exists because humans died learning what works and what doesn't. The reality of what they were seeing finally hit Veltar fully. These weren't just ships, they were weapons. Every human vessel was built from the ground up to kill other ships as efficiently as possible. And there were 50,000 of them. Admiral, Veltar said slowly, in all your wars with other species, did any of them have ships like yours? Rodriguez was quiet for a moment. A few came close. The Krethani had ships that could phase in and out of normal space. The Vex-Tar used living ships that could repair themselves during battle. What happened to them? They're gone, Rodriguez said simply. All of them. The hostile ones. Anyway, the peaceful species we've encountered usually become our allies pretty quickly, once they understand the situation. Situation? Dr. Chen spoke without looking up from her scanner readings. That we're the biggest predators in this part of the galaxy. And we're always hungry. The alien bridge fell silent, except for the soft humming of organic ship systems. Outside, the human war fleet continued its deadly dance. 200 ships moving with the precision of a single organism. An organism designed for only one purpose: to destroy anything that threatened humanity. and the collective was finally beginning to understand what they had stumbled into. The war room aboard the Retribution was nothing like the flowing organic spaces of collective ships. Every surface was metal and sharp angles. Screens covered the walls showing star maps, tactical displays, and ship positions. The air smelled of recycled atmosphere and electrical systems. Veltar sat at a metal table across from Admiral Rodriguez. Dr. Chen was connecting her scanner to the ship's computer systems. Commander Zethrin stood near the wall, afraid to touch anything. "This is how humans plan military operations," Rodriguez explained. "We study every possibility, every threat, every advantage we might have or face." A three-dimensional map appeared above the table. It showed the local region of space with different colored markers for various species and territories. "The red zones are hostile species we've encountered," Rodriguez said, pointing to several areas. "Yellow zones are species we're watching, but haven't made contact with yet. Green zones are our allies." Veltar studied the map with growing alarm. There were far more red zones than green ones. "So many hostile species," he whispered. "This is just what we've found so far," Dr. Chen said. "Our exploration fleets discover new threats every year." She touched controls, and the map zoomed in on human territory. It was surrounded by red markers on 3 sides. "The Krethani Empire tried to enslave us 50 years ago," Rodriguez explained. "They had technology similar to yours. Powerful ships, advanced weapons. They thought humans would be easy to conquer. What happened? We destroyed them," Rodriguez said without emotion. "Completely. It took 12 years and cost us 30 million lives, but we wiped out their entire species." The aliens stared at her in shock. "You committed genocide?" Kesani's voice was barely a whisper. "We committed survival," Rodriguez replied firmly. "They wanted to turn every human into a slave. We had 2 choices: surrender our freedom or fight to the death. We chose to fight." Dr. Chen pulled up new displays, showing ship designs and battle reports. "The Krethani had ships like yours," she continued. "Beautiful, advanced, but designed for peaceful purposes. They couldn't understand why their superior technology kept losing to crude human warships." "Why did it lose?" Zethrin asked. "Because we built our ships to kill theirs," Rodriguez said. "Every human vessel is designed with one primary mission: destroy enemy ships before they destroy us." She stood and walked to a wall display showing the human fleet outside. "Look at our ships again, Ambassador. Really look at them. What do you see?" Veltar stared at the brutal metal forms bristling with weapons. "I see machines of destruction." "You see the end result of 3 centuries of constant warfare," Rodriguez corrected. "Every design choice, every weapon system, every piece of armor exists because humans died learning what works in real combat." Dr. Chen brought up schematics of a human destroyer. "Triple redundant power systems, because enemies target your engines first. Modular armor plating that can be replaced during battle. Weapons designed to fire continuously without overheating. Escape pods that can fight their way out if the main ship is destroyed." "Your crews train for defeat?" Zethrin asked. "Our crews train for everything," Rodriguez said. "Victory, defeat, and everything in between. Because in real war, you don't get second chances." The display changed to show combat footage from past human battles. Ships exploded in silent bursts of light. Humans fought desperately against alien enemies with claws and energy weapons. "This is what shaped us," Rodriguez said quietly. "We didn't choose to become warriors. The universe forced us to become warriors or die." Veltar watched the brutal images with growing understanding. "Your part of space, it's more dangerous than ours." "Much more dangerous," Dr. Chen confirmed. "We've encountered 17 hostile species in 2 centuries. How many hostile species has the collective met In its entire history. None, Zethrin admitted. All the species in our region developed peacefully. You were lucky, Rodriguez said. She touched the controls, and the display changed to show a map of collective space. It was mostly green markers, showing peaceful species and safe systems. This is why your ships are so beautiful, she continued. You never had to learn that beauty gets you killed in a real fight. You never had to choose between elegance and survival. But surely dialogue and negotiation, Veltar began. Don't work with species that see other life as food. Rodriguez interrupted. The Vex-Tar hunted intelligent beings for sport. The Crethani viewed all other species as inferior animals to be enslaved. The Morokai wanted to harvest our brains for biological computers. How did you defeat them all? Dr. Chen smiled grimly. We became better at war than they were. Faster, meaner, more brutal when necessary. We learned to strike first and ask questions later. And the peaceful species you've met usually become our allies pretty quickly once they see what we're protecting them from, Rodriguez said. Fear of humanity is nothing compared to fear of the things that want to eat you. The room fell silent except for the hum of ship systems. Finally, Veltar spoke. What does this mean for the collective? Admiral Rodriguez and Dr. Chen looked at each other, another one of their silent conversations. That depends, Rodriguez said slowly. Are you planning to try changing us? Making us peaceful like you? We hoped, Veltar began, that you could remove our aggression and make us into proper civilized beings. Rodriguez finished. Like you did to yourselves. Yes. Rodriguez shook her head. Ambassador, our aggression is what keeps us alive. Take that away, and we become prey for the next hostile species that finds us. But if all species could be made peaceful, the hostile ones would never agree to it, Dr. Chen said. And if they did agree, they'd be lying. Predators don't give up hunting just because you ask nicely. She brought up a new display showing the edge of known space. There's something else you need to know, she continued. Our long-range scouts have been detecting strange signals from beyond the galactic rim. Big signals. Really big. What kind of signals? The kind that suggests something massive is coming this way. Something that makes our previous enemies look like children with toys. Rodriguez turned back to face the aliens. We've been preparing for this threat for 20 years. Building more ships, developing new weapons, training harder than ever before. And the collective? Veltar asked. Would be helpless against it, Rodriguez said bluntly. All useless against something that wants to destroy everything living. The implications hit Veltar like a physical blow. You're saying we need your protection. I'm saying we might need each other, Rodriguez corrected. You have technology we could use. We have experience fighting things that want to kill us all. Dr. Chen pulled up new images showing human shipyards working at full capacity. We're already building a new fleet, she said. Bigger ships, more powerful weapons. But we could build them faster with your technology. And in return, we keep the monsters away from your peaceful worlds, Rodriguez said simply. We become your shield against the dark. Zethrin finally spoke. You would fight to protect species you barely know? Rodriguez smiled, and for the first time, it was a warm expression. Commander, humans have been protecting the weak from the strong for our entire history. It's what we do. Sometimes we're not very good at it, and sometimes we make mistakes. But we keep trying. She gestured toward the viewport, showing human ships on patrol. Every one of those vessels carries a crew that volunteered to stand between Earth and whatever wants to destroy it. They do it not because they love war, but because they love what war protects. 2000. R. 143. 143. Peace. Veltar said softly. Peace, Rodriguez agreed. Real peace. The kind you earn by being strong enough to keep it. Outside the viewport, the human fleet maintained its protective formation around the collective ships. Predators guarding prey, that had become allies. And for the first time in 800 years, Veltar realized that maybe the collective had something to learn from a younger species. Maybe peace wasn't something you achieved by changing yourself. Maybe peace was something you fought for. Every day. With warriors who understood that the price of civilization was eternal vigilance against those who would destroy it. Admiral Rodriguez, Veltar said formally. The collective would like to discuss a mutual defense treaty. Rodriguez nodded. Welcome to the real universe, Ambassador. Try not to let it break you.